to share with you one thing that you can add to your water to make your body a fat burning machine while also
Okay, good morning, everyone. Morning, can you hear me?
Good morning, sir. Good morning.
Check whether I'm talking to myself because I'm right now. All right. So we will try to continue our patients, and I think we have quite a lot to listen to our friends. And also there are questions from groups, yeah, that we need maybe to discuss. If not today, we'll find another time to discuss the questions. The group, especially from the post-humanisms, yeah, which is very new. We can discuss manage the time, and then we can discuss more about post-humanism. But it is all, I think, for the presentation after the test. For the time being, we try to finish our materials for the test. Yeah. Last time we have discussed postmodernism, and then we have also discussed psychoanalysis and feminism. Yeah. Today we are going to have queer theory and I think Marxism. Yeah. Before that, I think I'm going to review a bit postmodernism, to get a clear picture what is postmodernism is, and a bit of psychoanalysis. Yeah. After that, we'll continue with the queer theory presentations. Okay. Yeah. So now, I need to servers, postmodernism documents. Can you see the screen now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, good. All right. So I need to go quickly on this postmodernism. Yeah. The basic principle of postmodernism is this what we call hyper reality. Hyper reality. It means the loss of the reals. Yeah. So the question, what is the real? What is reality? Yeah. So what is meant here, according to Book Thriller, yeah, in his book Simulation in 1981, is a loss of the distinction, the difference between real and imagined, reality and illusion, surface and depth. So that is what is meant by hyper reality, where we cannot really distinguish, we cannot really differentiate between what is imagination and what is in fact real. Yeah, what is the surface? What is something beyond the surface? Make this clear. Goal Thriller has these 4 stages or steps where the reality is clear. Yeah. First, we have studied the sign in structuralism. Yeah. We talk about the study of sign. So sign is something that represents something else. Yeah. Now, the first step, we assume that the sign represents basic reality. Yeah. So if you have the sign, you have also the basic reality. Yeah. Just to imagine this, if you have a picture, yeah, the picture is the representation of the basic reality. You cannot have the picture if you don't have the basic reality. Yeah. Whether it is drawn, whether it is captured through your camera, through your cell phone, the picture is the representation of basic reality. So we assume that we have the reality first, for example, you yourself, and your picture. That is step number 1. Yeah. Step number 2, the sign already misrepresent the basic reality or distort basic reality behind it. Yeah. For example, if you still use the picture, your picture here is being beautified using the applications. Yeah. So your picture is not exactly representing you because you have already beautified your face, for example, your skin and so on. Okay, that is how the sign misrepresents basic reality. Yeah, distortion is happening there. The third stage, so this is a step toward the experience of reality. The third step or stage is the sign disguise the fact that there is no corresponding reality underneath. So this time, the sign, the representation, whether it is a picture, whether it's an advertisement, whether it's a film, whether it's a story, already disguise. The disguise means hide in some way, yeah, camouflage in a way, the reality. So we cannot see the direct connection with the reality, but there is a connection still, but very unclear connections. And this is what we call the sign disguise the reality. Now, the fourth stage which is the business of postmodernism, yeah, is the sun bears no relation to any reality at all. Yeah. So this is what we call the disappearance of reality, because actually there is no reality, but we have only the sun. Yeah. This is the disappearance of reality. And images that we have about people, about products, mostly works this way. So we don't have the reality, we have only the image, we have only the representation, but we believe as if it is there. Yeah. That is when the sign bears no relation to any reality at all. In stage number 3, there is still a relation, although it is again being camouflaged very clearly, but there is no, as if there is no relationship, but still there is a relationship in the third stage. But in the fourth stage, there is no reality at all. For example, we have this Disneyland. Yeah. Disneyland is a kind of product actually created where there is no such a land in reality. So we play with the representation, and people believe as if there is a Disneyland with all the characters. Yeah, you know, Winnie the Pooh, yeah, and all the characters in the Disneyland, as if there are there, but actually it is not. Now, advertisement will help us to understand this. I'll try to play one advertisement. See the screen now.
I strengthen my hair like I strengthen my body. Because only when my hair is strong can it stay smooth. The all-new Pantene Silky Smooth Shampoo. Its pro-vitamin formula fights frizz, giving my hair the strength to be smooth. Because strong is always beautiful. New Pantene Silky Smooth Care.
Wish there was an easier way to tame frizzy hair. Nourish your hair to make it beautifully smooth. New Dove Straight and Silky with sunflower seed oil and Pro Moisture Complex. It deeply nourishes, repairs damaged hair and takes frizz. Just like that, goodbye frizz, hello to damage-free hair. New Dove Straight and Silky.
So this is only to give you an idea that how postmodernism works. So in case of these campaigns of shampoo advertisements, do you think which comes first? Is it Selena Gomez with a good kind of hair, or it is after the products is being used by her that her hair become better, as good as we see it on the screen? Which comes first? So this is how to understand this. Which comes first? Let me ask one or two of you. Oh yeah. Anyone who can tell me which one that coming first? It said Selena Gomez with the good condition of the hair. Yeah. And then yeah, she buy the product. Yeah. And then the hair become better. Or it is just like the advertisement tells us, Selena Gomez has, let's say, bad hair, and then you buy products, and use the product, and your hair become better. Which one? How many groups? Aditya, you don't understand the question. So the question only two. Which come first? The first is Selena Gomez has already got a good hair. Yeah, and it's buying products and the hair become better. Okay. The second, Selena Gomez has bad hair. Yeah, and then she buys the product and the hair become better. Which one? In your opinion?
Sir, I want to try, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the answer is the first one because Selena Gomez is, she's an idol, right? So it's obvious that she already has a good hair. And because she has a good hair, she is used to promote. Because if you want to promote a shampoo, you need to have a good hair first.
All right. That is the point. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So the answer is, she has already got a good hair because she's an idol. Yeah. So she use the product just to promote products. That is marketing. Any other idea? You think is it possible that she has a bad hair and then buying the product and become better? Is there that idea? No? Okay. So everyone seems to agree with Kevin that actually Selena Gomez has already got a good hair. Yeah. Whether it is curly, whether it is straight, whether it is white, black, whether it is colored. Yeah. Okay. So that's it, the point actually. So when you say that Selena Gomez already got a good, excellent hair, then buy the products as if the product changes her hair into better, that is a misrepresentation. Why? Because we start with simulations. Yeah. Advertisement is an example of simulations. Okay? It's not real. If we see the process, as Kevin mentioned, the producer of this product will look for the models with excellent hair. Yeah. If you have bad hair, you will not be selected as a model. Yeah. So that's the real process. Okay. But as if we believe that this product can change hair into better. Yeah. And then it is simulated, it is produced into an advertisement, yeah, and then broadcast everywhere, and then people look at the advertisement, and then people believe that it's true that, let's say, contents can change your hair, yeah, into stronger and more beautiful hair. And actually, the fact is, as Kevin mentioned, that Selena Gomez has already got a good hair. Yeah. So when people believe that this product can change the hair into a more beautiful one, stronger one, and they buy the products, it means they already believe in the simulations. Yeah. And when we do this, we are living in the simulacra, in the world of simulations, where the distinction between which one is real, which one is a copy or representation is not clear. Yeah, especially we assume, oh yeah, that this product can make our hair better. But actually, the process has been discussed before. It's not that. Yeah. So that is the disappearance of reality. When we believe on the simulation, on the copy of reality, as if it is real. Yeah. And this is in the study of literature, it's very important, including in the study of feminism. For example, how is the image of women represented on the media, on the television? They are expected to be like this, to be white, to be skinny, to be with long hair, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Although it is actually a simulated one. But people believe that this image is the ideal one. And then people believe as if it is real, and then again, postmodernism will enter. And when that happens, that is what we call the disappearance of reality. Because this copy is not based on any reality. It is a copy of an imagination. Yeah. Do you have any question on that? Yes, or not? So again, going back to Disneyland, yeah, that is their best example. They created characters, yeah, and children especially believe on the characters. Yeah, they think that it is there in reality, but actually it is only on the copy of reality, which is imagination. So it is actually only simulated. Yeah. So Disneyland, with all the product, with all the stories, with all the characters, are example of those disappearance of the reality. Alright, that is about postmodernism, just a short review. There's some more question on postmodernism. If you have a question, you can raise it now. I will give you a bit on the psychoanalysis. So, this is a best illustration. Can you see it on the screen now? Yeah. This is what we call the iceberg analogy. To understand our psychology, we need to understand this analogy. If you see here, icebergs, kind of ice, yeah, under the surface of the sea. You know that Titanic cruise ships sank because it hit this iceberg. Yeah. It is only sometime in the surface is very small part. Yeah. And under the surface there is a big and huge part of the ice. The ship didn't see that and then hit it and then it sank. In psychology, you can see that the surface here, yeah, over the surface here is what we call the conscious. Yeah. The conscious part of our mind, very limited. only, you see the percentage maybe 20% or 15%. This is the ego. We call this the reality. Yes. Reality. Yeah. Reality is when we talk about reality principles, something that we need to do, something that we realize, or transcend something. And under the surface of this, we have it. Yeah. From the bottom until here in the middle. Remember, the it is the primitive instinct, the drive to get pleasures. That's why we call this pleasure principle. Yeah, wish fulfillment. So most of us actually, as psychology creatures, seek to find these pleasures rather than face the reality. This is according to psychology. Now, which one that we will follow, whether it is our it or our ego? I think I have illustrated last week. Yeah. You will use your superego. Superego is the part that crosses, but it's not what use. Yeah. Cross it and also ego. Yeah. Because this is the social and moral imperative principles. Yeah. Whether you will follow your it or you will follow your ego, this ego will decide. And because it covers both sides. Right? Now, ego is our conscience, yeah? Our ego ideas, something good as different from something bad. You know it. You will decide. Now, can we question on this? And this is to illustrate. Maybe it is not exact, but Freud used this as to describe us, help us understand our psychology. So this ego, some over the surface, some under the surface of the sea. Yeah. So the reality, sometimes we can see it clearly because it is over the surface, but sometimes it's still beyond or beneath the surface of the sea. So the reality itself is a kind of gray. Yeah. But when we talk about the it, it's already pleasure, the biggest part of our life. So to be considered as standard or normal human being, you have to be able to control this three mechanism. Yeah. Sexuality. So there are three. Discuss this. Yes. So to understand the psychology, we need first to understand how the human mind works. I think it equals or ego has been explained. How the instinct works and how sexuality works. Okay. So these three elements cannot be. That's why we need to discuss sexuality first. According to Freud, sexuality does not begin on puberty. It's much earlier. Yeah. In infants, according to Freud, infants or baby has already sexuality, how it works with a human being. So the second thing we need need to understand is this Oedipus complex. So we know that Freud used literature to explain this. Oedipus complex is taken from the play by Sophocles, Oedipus the King. Yeah, when son falls in love with his own mother. The discussion in psychology is when the male infant conceives the desire to alienate the father and become the sexual partner of the mother. Yeah. Sometimes this is not biological, but more on psychology. Okay. So remember when we discussed it equals to equal. So more on psychology, the desire. Yeah. Okay. And in psychology, we have also Electra complex. This is also developed based on Oedipus, no, not Oedipus, but the other son, the other daughter of Oedipus, named Electra. So Oedipus complex is here compared to the female character. Oedipus is a male, but Electra is female. But just the other way, when a woman falls in love with a much older teenage of a man, yeah, we call it Electra complex. Electra is the son of Oedipus, sorry, the daughter of Oedipus. So the story developed into three parts, three dramas. And then libido is the energy that associated with sexual desire, and this is, according to Freud, has three stages. Yeah, this is very important. This is in the childhood, in the infants. Yeah, oral, anal, and phalanx. Oral is where the baby get pleasures when he or she is nurturing with the mothers. Yeah. So this is, we are talking about pleasures, and then we will develop pleasures. Anal is also the same. So anal is the pleasures by the baby when baby hold and release the passes. Yeah. Like this later with the wrong or morally and socially unacceptable way. So when you cannot control this oral and anal stage, so that instinct will develop. So when that instinct develops, it means there is a kind of mental problems, mental disorder. We have also transference, projections. So this is the mechanism under psychic process. This is a part of defense mechanism later. Yeah, we can study it by yourself. Still like this, for example. I think we have discussed about this last week. The idea of defense mechanism is to reduce anxiety. Yeah. There are a lot, one more. Yourself. Yeah. Question we can discuss. The other thing, we have this slips, yeah, of screen memory. A trivial or inconsequential memory per function is to only obliterate a more significant one. So slips in Freudian psychology, yeah, it's not something meaningless. Slip is a kind of latah in bahasa. Yeah, you can say something suddenly, you can do something suddenly without you realize. So it is a slip. Or something, sometimes you forget putting something. For example, you hold a pen, but you try to ask your friend, "Where is my pen?" But you are holding a pen. So that is when slips happens. Yeah, this in psychology indicates something more important, more significant, because our mind has been disturbed in a way. Yeah. So it is a repressed material in the unconscious, trying to find an outlet through everyday phenomena such as sleeps, can be sleep of the tongue. Sleep of the tongue is not sleep of the hands. Yeah. When you hold a pen, but you ask, "Where is my pen?" Sometimes glasses are also the same. Sleep of the glasses. You are wearing your glasses, but you ask somebody, "Where is my glass?" Because you don't glass in your hand. Or other unintended actions. But this is how to study small or previous thing that to understand something more significant. The last one is DreamWorks. DreamWorks, a process of real events that is sometimes can be decided and are transformed to dream images. So when we are sleeping, so not dream as ideal, but real dream when sleeps. Yeah. There are two important mechanisms only. First, displacement. Yeah. One person or event is represented by another, which is in some way linked or associated with. Yeah, perhaps because of similar sounding words or by some form of symbolic substitution. So we talk about a real thing, real event, and then transform into dream images. So displacement is when one person or one event is represented by other in our dream. So it means something. The representation in our dream is not exactly the same. It's only perhaps the same sounds, but different body, for example, different face is a person, only the same voice. But the idea is only a displacement, only a participation of that image. Why? Because in dream, we have this sensor actually. Yeah, so this is called waveform. This displacement is a partial representation is to this guys or the sieve, the sensor. Yeah, so that it can come out in our dream. So the sensor should be the sieves. That is displacement. Sometimes we call it bahasa pengalihan, so that it can come to our dream. Second mechanism is condensation. When a crowd to one image, a number of people, event, or minute are combined or represented by a single image. Now, if you happen to dream, perhaps you can dream something strange. Yeah. For example, this is the face of my friend, but the body is different, the voice is different. So that's normal because it is a condensation. So some images have one representation. So this is the dream. Last, relationship to literature. Character, motivation, and event are represented in the dream a very literary way. Okay, involving the translation by the dream work of abstract ideas or feeling into concrete images. So dream, just like literature, do not make explicit statement. Both can communicate obligedly or indirect. Yeah, it's not open, it's not direct. Yeah, we are talking with symbols, representation. This person, setting, time, place, everything is symbolic. Okay. Thus, literary works can be analyzed in the same way of analyzing. So this is normally our position as student of literature. Yeah, if you want to discuss psychology, why you can do it? You can argue that literature works in the same way as something working in our dream mechanism, including in our dream works, and also psychology works. I think that's it. Any questions? That's the basic. No question? Now, last, so I said last times. Yeah, this is kind of. This is how psychology developed, especially into literature. Yeah. So after Freud, we have big names, Jacques Lacan. Yeah. So Jacques Lacan is expert in psychology, but developed this into focusing on the language. Yeah. Developed Freud works with language or linguistic words. So Jacques Lacan focused on linguistic words, the unconscious words like so our mind works like how language works. So Freud used condensations and displacements in dream work just now. Lacan talk about metaphor and metonymy. Yeah. So metonymy, one thing represents another by means of part standing for the whole. So, for example, in the novel, you read 20 sail would mean 20 ships. Okay? Because sail is a representation of ships. Okay, but representing the whole. And then Freud displacement, a person might be presented as one of their attributes in the dreams. Yeah. So remember, when we discuss about how to fool or how to deceive the sensors. So in Zapaton's set, a lover who is Italian might be represented by, in a dream, yeah, by an Alfa Romeo car. Yeah. Why? Because Alfa Romeo is a brand, a car brand only produced by Italians. Okay? And this car can be associated with your logos. So this is how we study metonymy. Yeah. Or standing for the goal. So once again, a lover who is Italian or Italian lovers can be presented in a dream by Alfa Romeo. Second mechanism, by Freud, condensation, yeah, is compressed into one symbol, and we call this metaphor. For example, the novel says, the seeds plough the way. This is already a metaphor. Yeah. Because it is not possible actually, the seed plough the way. Yeah. This plough is used for the soil. But it is already a combination between, it connects two different images into a single item. Actually, it is the seed cutting through the seed and the plough cutting through the soil. So the idea of metaphor is a condensation of two or more images into one image. For example, in Edgar Allan Poe's The Black Cat. Yeah. So the black cat actually is already a metaphor in this. It representing Edgar Allan Poe's black or dark childhood. Yeah. With the connection with the mother. You can study that later. We can discuss it. Lacan spoke about three stages, not like Freud. The imagery, the mirror stage, and the symbolic stage. Imagery, of course, a baby cannot distinguish itself with the others, yeah. Especially is set as an idealist identification with the mother, still united with the mother, is imaginary. Baby, very small. Mirror stage is when the child sees its own reflection in the mirror and begins to consider itself as a unified being, separated from the mother and also the present. 6 to 8 months. Enters into the lighted system, start to sleep, yeah. Concerned with lack and separations, yeah. Separate from the image of the mother, the idealized image of the mothers. Yeah. And then start to names what is the present and use the linguistic sign. Talk about that. Okay. This is a mirror stage. Last stage, the beginning of sensitization with prohibition and restraints associated with the figure of the father. So in some platforms, the father is the representation of rules. You cannot do this, you can do that. You know, so different from the image of the mother. Yeah. This is according to social work has begun this symbolic, and this growth adults. Yeah, you can watch this film, Walk in the Cloud, and then we can discuss this. Walk in the Cloud is a good example of discussing several topics. So on all the five elements that try to stream it. I think that's my review. I think we got that one. A question we can raise along. Right. Now, I have to offer a clear is the group. Here please change the mouse. Yes. Three division.
Sir, I'm sorry. It's the group of theory is going to be presenting.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Sir, can you make me a co-host?
Um, any other friends?
A user, sir.
Are you?
A user Rania Wahyudi. Okay, let me share screen my presentation first. Wait a minute. Sorry. Can you see the presentation, sir?
Yes, now.
Okay, wait a minute. So good morning, everyone. We are from Group 6. The member consists of me and Ayuza are going to present the queer theory. The first slide is going to be presented by Ayuza.
So queer theory emerged prominently as a distinct field only by the 1990s. It is primarily concerned with issues regarding sexual orientation and gender identity. The adjective queer means strange or unusual, and it was used to denote non-heteronormative sexualities and insult gay and lesbian people at the beginning of the 20th century. It was first used as a slur towards effeminate gay men in a letter written by John Douglas, the ninth Marquis of Queensberry, who denounced the liaison between his son and Oscar Wilde. In order to fight the stigma, people who refused to participate in the heteronormative group began to use the term widely. Indeed, heteronormativity refers to a worldview that promotes heterosexuality as the normal sexual orientation, while also implies a strict gender division. As stated in queer theory, people should not necessarily define themselves according to binary norms. Since gender is not fixed, and so does sexuality or sex, it can be multiplied. Queer people advocate for the multiplication of genders rather than the abolition of gender. Next. 1990 was a key foundational year in this field because a key founding text, Epistemology of the Closet by Eve Kosowski-Sadwick, was published. In the same year, Judith Butler published her groundbreaking book Gender Trouble, Feminism and the Subversion of Gender Identity. Next. The purpose of gay or lesbian criticism. The Lesbian and Gay Studies reader tells us that lesbian or gay studies does for sex and sexuality approximately what woman studies does for gender. This being described a few lines earlier as establishing the centrality of gender as a fundamental category of historical analysis and understanding. In lesbian or gay criticism, the defining feature is making sexual orientation a fundamental category of analysis and understanding upon society, for it is informed by resistance to homophobia, fear and prejudice against homosexuality and heterosexism, and to the ideological and institutional practices of heterosexual privilege. Next. Queer theory and lesbian feminism. The correlation between feminism and LGBTQ movement is they are sharing the same goal, which is to fight for equality. Queer theory is not a single unified body of work. There were differences of emphasis between lesbian and gay theory, as well as two major strands of thinking within the lesbian theory itself. The first one is lesbian feminism. Lesbian feminism is a type of feminism that emerged in the mid to late 20th century at the convergence of the gay rights movement, the women's movement, and the sexual revolution. Same-sex relationships are considered legitimate by lesbian feminists. They use their lesbian identity as a basis to build community and take collective action. Lesbian feminism challenges the perception of heterosexuality and male supremacy as normal and offers new perspectives on gender and power. Next. Back then, lesbians were neglected by classic feminism. The controversy between heterosexual feminists and lesbians were partially diffused by Adrienne Rich's important essay, which introduced the idea of the lesbian continuum, a radical feminist model of sexual orientation which argues that all women have the potential to be lesbian and that women's bonding, identified as lesbianism, but not necessarily based on genital sexuality, is the only way for women to bond. Next. Queer theory and libertarian criticism. Libertarian feminism is the second kind of lesbian thinking, similar to queer. Libertarian feminism upholds liberation. Queer and libertarian feminism is related to post-structuralism work on the 1980s, as one of the main points of post-structuralism was to deconstruct binary opposition. Next. What queer theories do. The first one is identify and establish a canon of classic lesbian or gay writers whose work constitutes a distinct tradition. The second one, identify lesbian or gay episodes in mainstream work and discuss them as such rather than reading same-sex pairings in a non-specific way. For instance, as symbolizing two aspects of the same character. The third one is set up an extended metaphorical sense of lesbian or gay so that it connotes a moment of crossing a boundary or blurring a set of categories. All such liminal moments mirror the moment of self-identification as lesbian or gay, which is necessarily an act of conscious resistance to established norms and boundaries. Next. The fourth one is expose the homophobia of mainstream literature and criticism, as seen in ignoring or denigrating the homosexual aspects of the work of major canonical figures. The next one is foreground homosexual aspects of mainstream literature, which have previously been glossed over. The last one is foreground literary genres previously neglected that significantly influence ideals of masculinity or femininity. Next. Gay or lesbian or queer analysis key principles. Even though sexuality is often considered a highly private matter, it is thoroughly connected to our social existence. Negative social attitudes about expressions of sexual desire between members of the same sex have had a profound impact on many individuals' public and private lives. Yet social attitudes about sexuality have changed dramatically over time. Social attitudes about sexuality have differed significantly for men and women. Social attitudes about sexuality have differed significantly across cultures, regions, classes, and ethnic groups. Next. All notions of normality, sexual, gender-related, and otherwise, are appropriate subjects for critique and historical investigation. Social attitudes about sexuality resonate through literary and other cultural texts. Social attitudes about sexuality may be discernible in the themes of literary and other cultural texts. Social attitudes about sexuality may be discernible in the characterizations present in literary and other cultural texts. Explorations of the interrelationship of sexuality and textuality may draw on different theories, such as those concerning class, race, psychology, and the form, and as well as those of post-structuralism and new historicism.
So next, we take an example from one of queer theories. So who is she? This person's name is Judith Butler. So who is Judith Butler? She is an American philosopher whose theories of the performative nature of gender and sex were influential within the cultural theory and queer theory from the late 20th century. And what is her work? These three are one of her most popular work. First one is Gender Trouble, Feminism and the Subversion of Identity. The book is released on 1919. Second one is Bodies That Matter, on the discursive limits of sex. It is released in 1993. And the last one is Doing Gender is released in 2004. So Judith Butler's view that gender is culturally formed, but it's also a domain of agency or freedom, and that is most important to resist the violence that is imposed by the ideal gender norms, especially against those who are non-conforming in people's gender representation. Sex is seen as a binary biological given. You are born female or male, and then gender is the cultural component which is socialized into the person on the basic. This explain this gender trouble. She is about heterosexual metrics. So for the literary work, we take a novel that and also adapted into movie. The name of the novel is "Call Me by Your Name" by Andre Ekman, and then one director Luca Guadagnino is adapted this into movie. Call me by your name, I'll call you mine. This is a question that is quoted by Oliver to Elio. So, what is Call Me By Your Name? Call Me By Your Name is an LGBTQ novel that is later adapted into a movie. It tells a story about a 7-year-old Elio Perman who falls in love with Oliver, a 24-year-old doctoral student who is working as an intern for Elio's father. They are involved in a same-sex relationship as both of them are attracted to each other. All this started when Oliver came to Elio's house in North Italy during the summer of 1983. Initially, the two of them are merely friends. As the story unfolds, the tension between them increases significantly and they become sexually attracted to each other. It's shown in the narrative. So this is a quotation, or perhaps it start after his first week, when I was thrilled to see he still remember who I was, that he didn't ignore me, and that therefore I could allow myself the luxury of passing him on my way to the garden and not having to pretend I was unaware of him. So this is from the page 19. These lines show that Elio is starting to have feeling for Oliver. In addition to that, Oliver also gives sign to Elio to show his interest in him. So the way Oliver show interest to Elio is when after they play volleyball, Oliver just came to Elio and touch Elio's shoulder to massage him, but it is the love language of Oliver to show that Oliver have an interest toward Elio, and Elio realized that, but he still denial that Oliver loved him. Okay, so later Elio confessed to Oliver as shown in the movie in minute 48.40. So on the next slide we have scene.
For battles in World War I. 170,000 people died.
Is there anything you don't know?
I know nothing, Oliver.
Well, you seem to know more than anybody else around here.
Well, if you only knew how little I know about the things that matter.
What things that matter?
You know what things.
Why are you telling me this?
Because I thought you should know.
Because you thought I should know?
Because I wanted you to know. Because I wanted you to know. Because I wanted you to know. 'Cause I wanted you to know. Because there's no one else I can say this to but you.
You saying what I think you're saying? Don't go anywhere. Stay right here.
You know I'm not going anywhere.
They mixed up all of my pages. They're going to have to retype this whole thing. I'm not going to have anything to work on this afternoon. This is going to set me back a whole day. Damn it.
Shouldn't have said anything.
Just pretend you never did.
Or does that mean we're on speaking terms but not really?
It means we can't talk about those kinds of things. Okay? We just can't.
Ehi! Andiamo l'americano!
So this is the scene where Elio confessed his love to Oliver. And next, however, regardless of their sexual interaction, both Elio and Oliver are also personal with women and indicate our attraction for them. This is proven by how Elio is still in a relationship with a girl called Marzia, even when he is in love with Oliver. As for Oliver, he ends up marrying a woman. Therefore, calling by your name shows not a gay or lesbian movie, but this is about indication of bisexuality. And that's it for the presentation. And thank you.
All right, thank you, groups. Yeah, we have friends. You have questions? So, what is the problem? I mean, if we study the text, the film as a text, what is the issue that we can apply the theory in discussing this film?
I'm sorry, Spencer, but we cannot hear your voice clearly.
Cannot hear my voice. I'm close to the mic now. So the question is, what is the issue? What is the problems that you would like to highlight based on the theory, based on the concept of the queer theory? What's the main problem? Can you hear me?
Yes. So I think the problem is why we show Call Me by Your Name, because first this film is a popular one because it shows about the stereotype of bisexuality, gender, and of course sex. I think it's about only my opinion about the literary work.
Okay. So, stereotype about bisexuality.
Yes.
Now, do you think that the film or the novel raise the issue of homophobia, for example? Or there's no problem on homophobia?
I think no, it's not, sir. It's not about the there's no it's not homophobia in this film.
Okay, good. So, what's the problem, okay? Is it a bias stereotype about bisexual?
Yes, and also this film shows that Elio is exploring his sexuality because firstly he loved Marzia, a girl, and then after Oliver show his interest toward Elio, he's begin to love men. So it's about the crisis identity
Right.
about sexuality.
So that is the problem. More on the sexual identity problems. Yeah, you said a crisis of sexual identity. Okay. Question from you, boss? Any questions? Question? Not even a single question from you. Boss? If not, then I try to show you the connection between feminism and field theory and how the ideology of both fields. So we are talking about the ideology. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, sir.
Good. So in feminism, why feminism exists? Last week I discussed because we are talking about an ideal, yeah. For example, we have men and women, yeah. The ideology is to have the equality, right? In any aspects of life between women and men. But this is the ideology. Ideology means the struggles, the dream, the ideal that they still want to achieve. But the fact is, like this, yeah, and the position of man is superior than women. So they want to equalize this, yeah, to make this equal. Yeah. Now, in this struggle, there are many women who feel that they are hopeless. Yeah. And these women, as we discussed last week, belongs to what we call radical feminism or radical feminists. They feel if the relationship between women and men still happens, it is hopeless. Domination, that when men are superior, women are inferior, will still exist. So they encourage, they develop the struggle to cut the relationship between men and women in any forms, including marriage, including informal relationships. So they develop in the struggle later into this gay and lesbian ideology. Yeah, they form same-sex relationships. But again, remember, this is radical feminists. Yeah. Again, the idea of radical feminists is to invert the positions. Yeah, we discussed last week. It's not also the ideology of feminism because it is not equal anymore. Yeah. But these radical feminists only give the platform for the struggle of the queer theory. Yeah. Queer theory start talking with the reality, but that homosexuality is there in the reality. We cannot ignore that. Yeah, there are so many people with this sexual orientations. Yeah. And according to the research, there are around 20% of human beings categorized as homosexual. 20%. So this reality has been camouflaged, has been glossed over in such a way, including in literature, as if they didn't exist, while they were there. Yeah. So, triggered by the radical feminists, that these people, a homosexual struggle, surface. Yeah. And then they come with this, with the ideology similar to this, but to equalize between homosexual and heterosexual. So I put this into dash because it is still a struggle. It is not a real yet. Yeah, this is the ideology. To equalize between homosexuality in any aspects of life. Yeah, in the face of the law, in the face of education, in the face of jobs. Yeah, there should be no discrimination between homosexuality and heterosexuality. Yeah. But now the fact is just like feminists, you know, heterosexuality is superior, and homosexuality is considered as inferior. Yeah. So they want to struggle into this equality. Okay. This is a very simple illustration, but that is the fact. Yeah. Now, this problem, inequality, this discrimination, this domination by the heterosexuality, cause so many problems. Yeah, including one discussed here, crisis of identity. Yeah. Now, in literature, what we can do is two things between, both feminism and queer theory. You can pay attention to two things. First, check whether the work has promoted this ideology. Yeah, it means the works try to communicate that there is a struggle. Yeah, of the world taking side to this feminists or this queers. Yeah, that they want to equalize. Yeah, so the first thing is the world promoting the ideology of equality, whether men or women, or heterosexual and homosexual. If yes, show, discuss, prove. Where is the chromosomes? That is number one that you can do if you want to write a paper. Second thing that you can do is to check the maybe bias representation of in feminism of women, in theory of homosexual individuals. Yeah. Is it biased? Is it problematic? Is it a trouble? If yes, show, yeah, the problems, the trouble, including somewhere here we have homophobia. Homophobia exists because there is a kind of bias representation of homosexuality. Yeah. At least homosexuality has not been understood as equal as heterosexual. So all things is perceived by heterosexual paradigms. Yeah. What is normal, according to the mainstream, is heterosexuals. While according to homosexual, what is normal is homosexual. So the term normal, if you discuss using field theory, should be used carefully. Yeah. Normal, what is normal? Is it heterosexual? Is it homosexual? So these kind of problems should be seen here. Yeah. How women, how individual is represented in the world. So these two things can be both in the same text. So you can discuss both at the same time, but at least you can highlight one. Yeah. Any questions? No? All right. If not, then we still have time. We need to continue. By the way, beside call me by your name, which is already written by your senior into a thesis. Yeah, there are many words that you can discuss, but I want to highlight one already written to thesis that won Oscar on Academy Award at the time. The title is Brokeback Mountains. This is actually a short story. Yeah. Short story that later developed into a film, discussing a different way of homosexuality. Because the director of this film is an Asian. He is Ang Lee. Yeah. So you can see the problem more on how humanity works beyond their sexual orientations. It doesn't matter what is someone's sexual orientation. Yeah, human is human. They can feel longing, they can feel love, they can feel desire, they can feel compassion, and so on. So this Brokeback Mountain is quite a good short story or a film that represent how this number one is discussed. Yeah, that as human being, we have to treat the existence of homosexual and heterosexual as equal. We cannot judge them as weird, as disgusting, and so on. Yeah. Brokeback Mountain by Ang Lee, the director. This short story written by Annie Flowers. Okay, if there's no questions, Let's move to one more group. Thank you, Nabila. And who is the next group? Please. Oh, Vera.
Yes. Can you hear my voice clearly?
Vera and
Charlita Olivia.
all right.
Sorry, sir. Can you make me the host? Host, I mean.
Okay, please do. I expect many questions from you, yeah, because it's not only this presentation, but more discussion, yeah. All right. Okay, now we are talking about Marxism.
Okay. Can we start now?
Yes, sure.
All right. So, good morning, sir, and good morning, all of the friends. We are from the 7 group, and we are going to present about the Marxism literary criticism. My name is Vera, and my group mate, Charlita Olivia, and we are going to start our presentation now. Next. Olive.
Carolita is frozen. Busy.
I think she has some troubles with the connection.
Connections. You have your own presentations? I mean, the slide?
Yes. Okay, I'm going to share it.
Present it.
Can you see the screen now?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So, all right. The first one I'm going to explain who was Karl Marx. Karl Marx was a German philosopher, economist, sociologist, and political theorist. He was born in Trier, Germany in 1818. He is well known for his theories about capitalism and communism.
Carolita is there.
Mm. Okay, Karl Heinrich Marx was born in Trier, Germany in 1818. He is well known for his theories about capitalism.
Carolita, just allow Vera to share the screen. Yeah. It seems you have a problem with connections. Vera, again, you can share.
Wait a minute. Okay. In 1848, Marx and another German philosopher named Friedrich Engels published a book titled The Communist Manifesto. Marx also wrote and published a 3-volume book, The Das Kapital. The first volume was published in Berlin, 1867, while the second and third volumes were published in 1885 and 1894, after his death. During his lifetime, Marx criticized the injustice in the European capitalist system of economics operating in the 19th century. He also rejected Romanticism in favor of philosophy in dialectical materialism. The basic concept of Marxism. The basic concept of Marxism is everything is influenced by the economic situation. Karl Marx differentiated the levels of life into 2 levels, the base structure, or also called as the infrastructure, and superstructure. The base structure, or the infrastructure, indicates the economic aspects of life, such as the material means of production, distribution, and exchange, while the superstructure level indicates the cultural world of ideas, arts, religion, laws, politics, and etc. In the Marxist theory criticism, literature somehow becomes related to the economic situation at the moment. Karl speculated that human beings are the products of their social and economic environment. Marx sees that literature belongs to the superstructure level, along with law, theology, politics, because he wants to see how influential the base structure is in literature. The next basic concept of Marxism is Marx himself often treated literature as a simple propaganda for the ruling classes. There's some truth to this. For instance, in a feudal society, people loved chivalric romances, stories about knights who fight for honor and win their ladies' love. In today's capitalistic society, many people enjoy watching James Bond movies, which celebrate the glamorous lifestyle of the modern gentleman. The ladies' man who dresses in expensive clothes and drives fast cars. In these cultural fantasies, it is the aristocrat who comes to our rescue and saves us from imaginary villains that seek to destroy the status quo. Yet many years later, Marxists were unhappy with Marx's somewhat naive characterization of literature as propaganda. For instance, the Italian Antonio Gramsci used the concept of hegemony to describe the way which ideology is not simply oppressive and coercive, but also involves an element of consent. The next one will be presented by Olive.
Here are the key principles of Marxist and materialist analysis. The first one is attention to the material conditions of life and a critical engagement with our attitudes about those conditions are essential for achieving positive social change. The traditional social structure of classes within and around tax is built on the oppression of workers. Social classes within and around tax ultimately have conflicting interests, even if they share certain beliefs at the present time. Literary and other cultural texts are ideological in background, form, and function. The production and consumption of texts reflect class ideologies. Representations within text reflect class ideologies. The production, consumption, and content of literary and cultural criticism is also ideological in nature. A key role of the critic is to elucidate textual and extra-textual ideologies and thereby to further class awareness and positive social change. So here are some methods in analyzing a literary work theory.
The first one is making a division between the overt and covert content of a literary work. This method is pretty much similar to what psychoanalytic critics do when they are analyzing a literary work. After making a division between the overt and covert, relate
I think she also jadi cara yang God cara yang God perhaps I think Cyril was okay.
Similar to what psychoanalytic critics do when they are analyzing a literary work. After making a division between the overt and the covert, relate the covert subject matters of the literary work to basic Marxist themes, such as class struggle or the progression of society through various historical stages, such as the transition from feudalism to industrial capitalism. The second method is to relate the context of a work to the social class status of the author. In such cases, an assumption is made that the author is unaware of precisely what he or she is saying or revealing in the text. The third method is to explain the nature of a whole literary genre in terms of the social period produced it. The fourth one is to relate the literary work to the social assumptions of the time in which it is consumed, a strategy which is used particularly in the later variant or of Marxist criticism known as cultural materialism. And the last method is the politicization of literary form. That is the claim that literary forms are themselves determined by political circumstance. The next, we are moving to the literary work, and the work that we choose is Cinderella. If you have ever watched the movie, you must have at least noticed a discrimination towards Cinderella. The character Cinderella is depicted to be the proletariat, or known as the working class people, while her stepmother is the depiction of a bourgeoisie, the class who has more power over the proletariat. There are some scenes that prove this statement. One of those is the scene when Cinderella's stepmother asks Cinderella to sleep in the attic. She also leaves all chores to Cinderella, treating her like a housemaid. Other than that, there is also another Marxism ideology in Cinderella, and it is the king and the royal family. In Cinderella, the king is a depiction of an aristocrat, the highest class in a certain societies, especially those holding hereditary titles or offices. They can maintain their high position as a result of their bloodline. The Prince Charming will also become the king one day because of his father's position, who is the king of the kingdom. And the last one is Cinderella's handmade dress incident. Before the stepmother and her stepsisters go to the ball, Cinderella shows up and says that she also wants to go to the ball. Unfortunately, the three of them mock Cinderella instead of taking her to the ball with them. They say that she is not worthy to attend the ball and meet the prince because it will only humiliate herself and the royal family. They even tear Cinderella's handmade dress into pieces and leave her alone at home. The conclusion of the Cinderella criticism. Walt Disney's Cinderella is one of many literary works that shows so many Marxism ideologies. It shows us the class struggle that happens under the capitalism economic system. It also shows how the lower class, or the proletariat, being treated by the middle or higher class in order to achieve their own dreams and life goals. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Vera and Cheryl. Any question? I think this is quite easy to follow. Yeah. And it's also very close to our everyday encounter with realities. When we talk about materialisms. Any questions? Guys? It's clear? Can you give the example of, you mentioned about Antonio Gramsci terms, yeah, which is very famous in Marxism, yeah. Can you give the example of, let's say, in, I don't know, it's Cinderella, maybe? Hegemony. Discuss a bit about hegemony by Antonio Gramsci in Cinderella.
Oh,
Or another example is also.
okay. All right. We are going to discuss it first. First, is it okay?
So we are discussing very interesting concept called hegemony. Yeah. Antonio Gramsci is a fascist who is considered as anti-government, so he was in prisons and wrote the book in the prisons. Yeah, Hegemony, which is very famous. This Vera or Cyril.
Okay. So the hegemony ideology in Cinderella is located in the dominance that the stepmother and her stepsisters have over Cinderella. So in the family, the stepmother and the stepsisters have more power than Cinderella. So show some dominance and oppress her because Cinderella is powerless in the story.
But the interesting idea of hegemony is you are being oppressed, but you seem to give consent. You seem to agree to be oppressed. Is there any part of the story telling that Cinderella seems to agree to be oppressed by her stepsisters and also stepmother?
I don't think that she agrees to be oppressed because who agrees to be oppressed? But she has another choice than be obedient to the stepmother and the stepsisters. Or if she decides to not follow their commands, then she will be kicked out from the house.
So if it is not, I mean, the one who is being oppressed, being dominated, feel that he is really dominated and oppressed, it is not hegemony. But that is the unique concept of Gramsci. So you are being dominated, but you seem to agree to give consent to be dominated in a way, yeah. So there's a kind of offered dominations. Yeah. Maybe you can give example from other works. In feminism works, there are a lot of this hegemony. Yeah. Why, for example, women seems to agree to be dominated by men. Examples. What is the reason? So this is discussion. So anyone can give opinion. We try to understand the hegemony. It's called intellectual dominations. You don't feel that you are dominated, but you are dominated in a way. Sometimes it's called moral dominations. Jared can help highlight ideas or other students. Sarah, can you show the slide on hegemony? Okay. Yeah, can you show it? I mean, yeah, yes. Display it. All right. So number 5. Yeah. Yet many later Marxists were unhappy with Marx. Yeah. Somewhat naive. So Karl Marx seems to be naive because discussing this domination openly. Yeah. That it is only based on economic. Yeah. If you have the good position in economy, you get a lot of capital, you dominate. This is naive. So that's why Italian communist Antonio Gramsci used the concept hegemony to describe the way in which ideology is a system of belief, not simply oppressive and coercive, but involve an element of consent. Consent means you give agreement to the dominations. Yeah, that's why we call it intellectual dominations. Yeah. You want to dominate, but you make it as if you don't dominate. This is hegemony. And this is very interesting to understand how it works. Any idea, Vera or Cheryl?
I couldn't think of any.
If you can think, if it is not in literary work, perhaps in our everyday life. Yeah, just to help understand this hegemony. Any other friends who can help? I need to fill in the numbers while you are thinking.
what about a political group, sir? Is it also considered as a hegemony? A political group that has some power over the citizens.
Political group having power or
Yes, it's like a political group. Let's say a president. The president has the most power in a country, right? And therefore, he or she becomes the dominant of the country, and then the citizens just believe in them and like give them consent to rule the country, right? Is it?
Yeah, that's very possible. But we need to specify what is the form of domination. Yeah. What jargon, for example, the government use to indicate that they dominate the activity, but as if that the citizen give consent on that.
I'm sorry, sir, I couldn't hear your voice clearly.
Okay, wait a minute. So, of course, political groups can impose domination upon citizens. Yeah. But we need to specify what kind of activity or what kind of rules, for example, that show domination, but the citizens don't feel that they are being oppressed, being dominated. Yeah. As a whole, yes, you can say yes, but what is the exact example? Any idea about the other? Come on. The camera is blurred. Okay, camera is blurred. How to unblur the camera?
Sir, can I try, sir?
Yes, please. Yes.
Yeah, I think like the whole monarchism is can be considered as hegemony because it is also involves an element of consent because like the peasants agree, right, with the whole monarchism thing. The monarchy in a way like controls the citizens, very influential against the citizens, but the peasants are okay-ish with it, so there's a concern about it.
Yeah, so of course the governments dominate, yeah, all the citizens in all the rules. But the question is whether the citizen feel the domination or not. Yeah, if they feel they are being dominated in a way, then there is no hegemony. Okay, if the citizen do not feel that they are being dominated, but actually they are dominated, they are controlled, so it is hegemony. So in the government, you cannot avoid hegemony. There is always hegemony. Okay. Now to give more exact example, to be more specified, We can take example of, let's say you work in a company, okay, as an employee, okay. Of course, you are dominated, just like citizens. You are employee. You are dominated by the company, by the employers. But how can the company make you feel that you are not dominated? Right? So this is the system. For example, the company give you what is it? At the end of the year, you are given 15 salary, for example. You are given holiday. Okay. And then other kind of mechanism in the job that make you feel you can be controlled longer. So the holiday provided by the company, the extra bonus, all are the system of hegemony. Yeah, to make the employee agree to be controlled, to be dominated more. Okay, that is a very clear example of hegemony. Yeah, it is an intellectual. Sometimes it is moral. Sometimes the leader is also called moral intellectual domination or leadership. Sometimes it can be psychological. Yeah. How can you feel safe that the company, for example, build a very strong connection among the employees? Yeah. Feel a psychological hegemony. Yeah. But going back to Marxist, all things related to we call it economic determination. So all is determined by economy. Yeah. So economy dominate. If you have better economy, you have better domination. That is a very basic principle from Marx. And even until today, it is hard to deny that. Okay? These economic determinations. The group has discussed basic Marxist principle. We call it base structure versus super structure. Base structures is the material world. Yeah, this is the material. Production, consumption, distribution, all belong to this base structure. Base structure. While superstructures is the world of ideas. Something that you cannot touch, it is only concepts. Such as law, education, yeah, culture, rules, all are superstructure, including religion. Yeah, religion is superstructure. So according to Marx, these superstructures is being controlled by base structure. So basically we can say that religion can be controlled by economy. Yeah. Rules, laws can be controlled by economy, including education and others. Yeah. Law, rules, yeah. Culture, and so on. Yeah. Control. Yeah. Base structure control. That is the basic idea. Any more questions?
Yeah, I want to ask.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you think like for the group, yeah? Do you think the fairy godmother represents something? Because in the story she's like the savior of the working class, right? Like, do you think it has a double meaning behind it? Like, what does it mean?
Clear the question, Sarah?
Okay. Let me think for the answer for a moment.
Okay. Maybe Cheryl, is she connected?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you share ideas? So while waiting, there is one concept which is not yet discussed, which is very important and interesting. In Marxism, what we call alienations. Maybe next time we can discuss it next time. By the way, do we still have meeting before our midterms or not? Aditya? Adit?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, do we still have meeting before our midterms or no?
I don't.
No, yeah?
think so.
No?
No.
No, yeah. That is the last meeting. Okay. So for your midterms, please write a papers. Choose one theory until Marxism. Okay, you can choose any one theory only. Choose, discuss the theory briefly, and analyze text. You are free to choose whether it is a poem, drama, sub-story, novel, songs, even film is okay. Yeah. Discuss the issues, apply the theory. So don't discuss the theme, don't discuss character, blah, 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 more anymore. Discuss the issues. Yeah, apply the theory. Example, in Marxism, you can discuss the hegemony in the text. Show, show me, show us the hegemony. Yeah, examples. The length is around 5 pages, 1.5 space, A4 papers size. If you still have question on the theory, you need to discuss it. Just inform Adit. Maybe we can arrange one informal meeting. You can use Google Meet, for example. If you really need to discuss, to ask question, to elaborate more about the theory. Yeah. Just arrange. Tell me when can we meet. In the evening is also okay. Yeah. If it is needed, not then just go. All right. Going back to Catherine's question to Sarah and Cheryl.
So
Yes, please. Yes, please. Farah or Cyril? You have the answers? Because time is already outstanding. Oh, I have been noted. We have to stop now. Okay. No question. No answer. No Farah. Can you still hear me?
Yes, so we are still looking for the answer because we are not sure about the
Let's
answer.
start. Let's start.
So I think from what we have, what Cheryl and I have searched, looked up, I don't think the fairy godmother has a certain. I don't think the fairy godmother idealizes a certain theory by Mark by Marx because
No ideology according to the book, yeah, the fairy godmother. What do you think, Captain? Your opinions?
Personally, I personally I disagree because I think the concept about Marxism is about social struggle, right? And like the fairy godmother helps Cinderella like escape that struggle. So I think I'm sure like it the godmother means something like because she's like the ideal, what you call it, like the ideal hope for like for the people is for Cinderella to break free from the chain of the struggle of the social class. So I think yeah, personally I think yeah, it has a double meaning, but I don't know.
it could be right, but the thing is, I don't know the term to describe that role.
Yes. Sorry? Go on, go on. Say it again.
The fairy godmother maybe has an important role, but it's just we don't know the term for that ideology.
What kind of? Can you describe?
These helper class, the class that help the lower classes to break free from their struggles.
Yeah, okay, good. So sometimes we don't need to label that kind of struggle with kind of technical term, like such hegemony or alienation or economic determination. No, we can just discuss social struggle and tell or show the mechanisms, yeah, how this character, for example, help other oppressed characters to face and to fight against the dominations, yeah. Because in the study of Marxism, What matters is how this theory of base structure controlling its structure sometimes can be proven to be not always working. Yeah. For example, many stories come up with the idea of love wins over material things. Yeah, it means that Marx's idea is proven wrong. Although many of the stories, of course, say that love loses against materialism. So, just discuss the mechanisms. Yeah, it can be against this. Yeah, it can be pro this. Yeah, just like here in this feminism and homosexual theories. Yeah, you can discuss whether the word promotes the ideology, yeah, or it is discussing the bias representations. It is not promoting the ideology. So this is against each other. Yeah, we discuss both. Yeah. Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. So it doesn't have to be covered with a term, whether it is hegemony, whether it is determination. You can just discuss the mechanism, whether it is against the principles, yeah, the economic determination, or it is in line or pro Marx's idea. Yeah. Or both sides. You can discuss both sides. Don't forget. Okay. Just to close, because I have written down this alienation. Yeah. I have written down alienations. So in Marx, the domination by the dominant group, especially the elite group, yeah, over the proletariat or working class, can happen when alienation takes place. This is very easy. This is connected to the industry. Yeah. When employees produce, let's say, car, yeah, they work in the car company. Every day they go to the factory, they help producing the car, but this employee does not have a car. Yeah. So he is being alienated to the product that he is producing. Yeah. But this is alienation. Yeah. You work, you produce things, but you cannot afford to buy or to have the thing. That is alienation. And in Marxism, this is very great. Okay, I think that's all today. Thank you for your participation in the group on queer theory and Marxism. Again, if you think you need to discuss more about the theory or your test, just discuss with Adit as the captain here, and then Adit can arrange a meeting with me maybe in the evening. Not everyone, just a few of you is also okay. Then we can discuss. Okay.
Thank you.
Lunch. Stay healthy. Bye. Don't forget to send the PPT ya to my email.
Okay, sir. Thank you and have a good day.
You
Thank you, sir.
bye.
Thank you, sir. Stay safe.